Hey everybody, I wanted to talk about the 4 main questions that you should be asking to help yourself find the key to the song that you're playing. The very first thing that I think is crucial, the very first piece of information that you need to know in order to find the key to the song that you're playing is the chord progression. If you know what chords and the kinds of chords that you are playing, what key those chords are in, the root note of each of those chords, then you will be able to determine the key that those chords come from. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So the very first question that you ask yourself is, what are the chords in the chord progression? The second most important question that you can ask yourself is, are these chords diatonic? Diatonic means in the key of. Now, in order to figure that out, I'm going to go over a little bit of major scale harmony with you to give you a foundation for how to approach figuring out whether something is diatonic or not. I'll get to that in just a second. The third question that I think is really important to ask in addition to those first two, what's the form? What's the form? The form has to do with the length and order of the chords in the progression. This is going to tell you when things start and end and divide your song into sections. It's important to know what the form of the song is because the form is going to help outline the pathway of tension and release. Tension and release is a huge part and actually arguably the purpose of harmony is. It's to create tension and then release that tension. It's a point of getting you from a place that you're starting and having a purpose to leave the place that you're starting to then return back to it. It's cyclical and it's the function of harmony in a song. Understanding the form is going to help you decide where you're hearing the tension and where you're hearing the release, giving you some indicators of what you could consider the key of the song or passage you're looking at. And the last question, where are these chords going? There are going to be points in a lot of songs that you're playing that are going to have keys that are non-diatonic, and as well as chords that are diatonic to the key that you're in. And asking yourself where these chords are going is going to help you with, again, seeing the pathway of tension and release. Why is that chord in that part of the song? What's the function? How is it taking me from where I am and where is it bringing me? And is the place that you're going in a different key or in the key that you're in? So these are the types of questions that you should have in your head if the central question that you have is, what key am I in? Now, again, the whole idea of what key you're in is subjective. It has to do with what you consider the root. And with that being said, I want to show you something so that I can help you determine from a basic perspective what you could consider a root. Let's take a look. Okay, so in order to answer the question, is this diatonic? Is this related to my key center? It's basically what diatonic means. Is it in the key of? I think it's important to have a little background on the major scale. So first thing, a major scale is just a combination of whole steps and half steps. Virtually any scale that you've ever learned is just an expression of a combination of whole steps and half steps. So you imagine all the notes on your E string, all the notes on any string, and separating them with a pattern. The notes you get from that pattern are now diatonic to the note you started on. Now, a major scale has a very specific combination of whole steps and half steps, and it goes whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Now, wherever you start that pattern, you will be getting a major scale. And the key of that major scale will be the note you started the pattern on. So in the case of the notes behind me, I started this pattern on the note C. These are the notes I got. If you play those notes on your guitar, you're going to hear a C major scale, and all the notes you are playing are diatonic to the key of C major. So just to summarize, what the notes that are in the key of C major got there by way of being separated with a whole step, half step pattern. Again, the whole step, half step pattern, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Okay, put that aside. Fact number 2, every major scale produces the same kinds of chords in the same places. So the first chord will always be major in any major key. In any major key, the second and third will always be minor chords. In any major key, the fourth and fifth notes of that scale will produce the roots of major chords. The sixth note of the scale will produce the root of a minor chord, and the seventh, the last note of the major scale, will produce the root of a diminished chord. In conclusion, 1, 4, and 5 give you major chords, and the 2, 3, and 6 give you minor chords, and the 7th gives you diminished. It doesn't matter what key you started the whole step, half step pattern on. Whatever notes you get, if you were to call them, each of those 7 notes by the 7 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, each of those notes would produce the same kinds of chords on the same degree, the same number. 1, 4, 5 is major, 2, 3, 6 is minor, and 7 is diminished. Now what that tells us is if you're playing a chord progression that's a D minor, E minor, F, there's no C chord involved in that. However, you could argue because those 3 chords are part of this group, you could argue that they belong to the key of C. And playing a C major scale over it as a solo would work. Let's look over here for a second. If you're to look at this is your fretboard, and I have the C major scale laid out on the E and A strings. And I chose the E and A strings because that's where the roots of our bar chords typically are. Something else that can help you in figuring out the key of stuff, or figure out the key of the song that you're in, is the root motion of the chords. Are the chords following a connect the dots pattern that you recognize? One of the most common chord progressions, there's a lot of YouTube videos on the most common, or like learn this chord progression, you've learned like 1,000 songs, is the 1, 5, 6, 4. That's like Under the Bridge by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's When I Come Around by Green Day. That's Let It Be by the Beatles. That's a ton of different songs. 1, 5, 6, 4. That root motion anywhere on your guitar will outline the 1, 4, and 5 chord. Anytime this is 1, down a whole step and over is your 4, and then up a whole step from that will be the root of your 5 chord. And those are the 3 major chords related to one another. And inversely, that same shape upside down, up a whole step, is your 6, 2, and 3, the 3 minor chords. So you've got this L shape. I'm skipping out the diminished chord, keep that in mind. And you've got this upside down L. And that's your 6, 2, and 3. Anytime you're playing a minor chord up a whole step from a major, you could be looking at a 5 to a 6 or a 1 to a 2. Anytime you're playing a minor chord that goes down a whole step and then to a major and then down a whole step to a major, you're playing a 6, 5, 4 potentially. That's like the end of Stairway to Heaven. That's like Nothing Else Matters. There's a bunch of songs that use the 6, 5, 4 chord progression. You could also be going 1 major, 2 minor, 3 minor, up to 4 major, and that's like Lean on Me. If you know and recognize root motion, oh, I'm playing 3 major chords and they're outlined this way, or I'm playing 2 major chords and a minor chord, this is enough information for you to start making guesses about what could be the parent major scale that those chords came from. Because if you get 2 minor chords and 1 major, well then there's only certain keys where there's that share those two minor chords and that major chord. There's only so many choices. And the way you figure that out is by learning the major scale, especially on just one string, and fitting that pattern over the chord progression that you're playing, the roots of the chords that you're playing. That'll help outline what key you're in. So let's cover these 4 questions one more time. What are the chords to this song that you're trying to figure out the key of? What is the form of this song? What's the harmonic rhythm? How long do these chords get played for? And how long are the different sections of the tune? What notes, or excuse me, what roots of the chords did you learn are diatonic to a major scale and which are not? And 4, where are the non-diatonic chords going? Or where are the diatonic chords going? What direction? What's following what? All of this will help create a pathway that you can observe so that you can see where a song starts and how it's shifting and moving away from its starting point to get you back again to the beginning. After all, harmony is really just a path of tension and release. It's taking you from a place and getting you to another place. And the cooler and more creative composers mess with the tension and release, the more interesting and different feeling the song is. Guys, I hope that this helps. Please let me know if it does or if it doesn't, how confusing I know that all this stuff can be. I hope that this offers a little or sheds a little light on this question. I did write a couple of different articles on this to get further into major scale harmony that I'm going to attach in the description of this video. So please subscribe and take a look at the article. I'm here to help. I just hope that you find some use out of this stuff. Anyway, hope all is well, and I'll see you guys next time.